Subcultures have always been a part of the cultural landscape, acting as a counterpoint to mainstream society. They challenge the status quo, pushing boundaries in music, fashion, politics, and philosophy. While some subcultures, like punk and hip-hop, are still alive and thriving, others have slowly faded into obscurity over the years. Today, we're going to shine a light on 5 iconic subcultures of the past: the Dandies, Beatniks, Mods, Flappers, and Zoot Suiters. Each of these groups was born out of unique social, political, and economic conditions, and each had its own distinctive look, attitude, and philosophy. While they may seem like relics of the past, these subcultures paved the way for many aspects of contemporary youth culture. Let's dive into their stories, beginning with the Dandies. The dandy subculture originated in the late 18th and early 19th centuries in Britain. Beau Brummel, one of the most famous dandies, epitomized this movement, ushering in an era of minimalist elegance. Dandies were known for their impeccable fashion, rejecting the flashy attire of aristocracy for a more refined, understated look. They wore tailored suits, perfectly tied cravats, and the kind of personal grooming that bordered on obsession. The dandy was a social statement. They rejected traditional values and championed individuality over conformity. They were intellectuals, artists, and men of leisure who found power in their self-presentation. In a society that emphasized class and wealth, the dandy showed that one's appearance could transcend both, establishing a new form of social mobility through fashion. Fast forward to the 1950s and 60s in the United States, and we meet the Beatniks, a bohemian subculture that arose in response to post-war consumerism and conformity. This group, most famously embodied by writers like Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg, rejected mainstream society's materialism and embraced artistic freedom. With their black turtlenecks, berets, and intense poetry readings, Beatniks became synonymous with rebellion. They championed free thought, anti-establishment sentiments, and a rejection of traditional values, especially around sexuality and politics. The Beats were pioneers in the fight for civil rights and LGBTQ+ rights, and they laid the groundwork for the counterculture movements of the 1960s. Their style, often associated with a sense of melancholy and introspection, was a direct contrast to the polished, consumer-driven image of post-war America. They were not just a fashion statement, they were a philosophical stance against the expected norms of the time. In the late 1950s and 60s in Britain, a new subculture emerged, the Mods. This group was defined by its sharp, tailored fashion, fast scooters, and a love for rhythm and blues music. The Mods were the epitome of youthful energy and style, often seen wearing slim suits, button-up shirts, and polished shoes, with a clean, sleek look that was sharply contrasted with the more rebellious teddy boy fashion of the previous generation. Mods were heavily influenced by Italian and French fashion, embracing modernity and refinement. They were also keen on the latest music trends, especially jazz, soul, and the emerging British rock scene. The mod movement wasn't just about appearance, it was about an entire lifestyle focused on youth empowerment, rebellion against the older generation's values, and an obsessive pursuit of personal style. But despite their focus on looking good, the Mods were also about substance. They saw themselves as part of a cultural revolution, rejecting the limitations placed on them by a post-war, class-conscious society. Their iconic scooter, often customized to reflect personal flair, symbolized their desire for speed, freedom, and movement. The 1920s saw the rise of the Flappers, a subculture that revolutionized women's fashion and attitudes toward freedom. The flapper movement emerged during the Roaring Twenties, a time of post-World War II social change. Young women began to break away from the restrictive Victorian ideals that had previously dictated their lives. They bobbed their hair, wore short skirts, danced to jazz, and challenged traditional gender roles in ways never seen before. Flappers were the epitome of modernity and liberation. They drank alcohol, smoked in public, and defied the expectations placed on them by older generations. Their fashion, characterized by loose, drop-waist dresses, pearls, and headbands, symbolized freedom from the constraints of previous decades. The flappers embodied a new era of women's independence, leading the charge for greater social, sexual, and political freedoms. Though their reign was short-lived, the flappers were instrumental in changing perceptions of women and have since become icons of cultural rebellion. The Zoot Suiters were a prominent subculture in the United States during the late 1930s and 1940s, particularly among African American, Mexican American, and Filipino American youth in cities like Los Angeles. Known for their bold, oversized suits with exaggerated lapels, wide-brimmed hats, and long dangling chains, Zoot Suiters made a statement both with their fashion and their attitude. The Zoot Suit was a symbol of defiance against the societal and racial discrimination many members of these communities faced. It was also a symbol of pride and unity. During a time when America was involved in World War II, the Zoot Suit became a source of controversy. The Zoot Suit riots of 1943, where servicemen clashed with Zoot Suiters, marked a pivotal moment in the racial tensions of the era. Despite the backlash, the Zoot Suiters left a lasting legacy, particularly in terms of cultural pride, resistance to authority, and the expression of identity through fashion. Their influence can still be seen in modern street style and in the continued reverence for their bold, unapologetic fashion choices. If you enjoyed learning about these fascinating subcultures, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into history, fashion, and culture. Let us know in the comments if there's one you would like me to be included. Join the conversation and keep exploring the cultural movements that shaped our world.
This is Prohibition Unchained.